Hey, I'm Jeff and welcome back to another video. This silly looking contraption here is something that I fabricated yesterday. It's gonna help me out a ton with watering my houseplants, so I'll show you how to use it. So this box actually solves two watering issues that I had. One of the things that I like to do with most of my houseplants is either take them to the bathroom into the shower or outside if the weather is appropriate. And I like to spray down the leaves of any dust and even blast off any pests. If you have a lot of houseplants like I do, it can be a little bit time consuming taking each plant to the bathroom and back and just keep doing that with all these houseplants. So that is one solution. The other one is I have a bunch of plants on planks over there. I will take this tub down there and then just individually place them in here, spray down the plank so that the plank is thoroughly saturated so those aerial roots can latch onto, but it also thoroughly waters the plant as well. So I have this pump action spray bottle with my misting wand and then I just spray it off. So nothing else gets sprayed. Obviously the little shower backing catches all the water and then I can water the plant and clean off the leaves like that. I have been using these beneficial bug packs. I just clip them on the leaves there. So everything's been really dusty just because I have not been able to clean the leaves off, because if you spray the leaves off, then you're spraying off those beneficial bugs. Now it's time to officially clean off all these leaves and get them back to their pristine, clean condition again. Now this is where it gets really easy for my planks. I have the tub right there. Most of them I can pick up by the plank itself. So here's the plant, there's the pot, and I just set it in the plant shower. Actually, this one's getting a little bit too large. You can see back here, all those roots are stuck onto the plank. So that's why I like to water the plank. That way it trains those aerial roots to latch onto and grow upwards and get these larger leaves. Like, look at how gorgeous they are. Here's a new one. It's just starting to size up. And yeah, you can see these are the original leaves. Well, here's a yellow leaf. Just gonna pull that off. So here's the original size. You can see how much it's sized up in just a matter of a few months just on the plank. So these guys have been extra thirsty lately, so I put the wand right on the plank and just let it drain down into the pot. And now this container will catch all the runoff, whether it's I'm spraying the leaves or if I'm putting water in the pot. This little contraption saves me a lot of time just from moving my plants around. So now I gotta get these leaves dust-free and looking healthy again. Look at the size of these aerial roots at the back here. Just crazy. I love how it's looking and growing on these planks. I'm also going to give this one a little bit of fertilizer. So I'm just going to put my watering can in there and thoroughly saturate. Oh geez, I just made a mess. Just thoroughly soak the soil with the water fertilizer mixture. Just going to let that drain through. I got to clean up the mess here. Another thing I like to do as well is turn the plant around and spray off the back of the leaves as well. That's where a lot of pests will like to hide out, is on the back side and underneath the leaves. Kind of near where the petiole attaches to the leaves, you'll find lots of pests like to hide in those spots. So, and then when that's done, I just take my plank and put it back on the saucer. And then I'll pick up the next one. But I'm gonna show you guys my marble queen. This one is absolutely incredible. Look at the newest leaf, like look at the size of this. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's finally hardened off and it's already getting another one. Here's one of those beneficial bug packs. I'm gonna take that off. So here's one of the original leaves. Like look how small it is, you know, probably just a few inches. And now it's sized up and the variegation is absolutely gorgeous. This is like a plastic coating or casing. It's got styrofoam in the middle. It is kind of soaking up the water a little bit. You can see it rising here, but it shouldn't get moldy or anything like that because this is just plastic and this is just styrofoam. So there shouldn't be any mold issues. But if I have to make some changes down the road to the design, then that's what I'll do. This one's pushing out a new leaf as well. So I'm gonna give this one some fertilizer water. I'm not gonna make a mess like I did last time. Just let that soak through. And we'll move on to the next one. Now I'm just going to put this one back in its little area. I'm going to grab my golden Hawaiian. This thing is absolutely beautiful. You can even fertilize the plank, just let the water run down, and that's all I do. I'm gonna grab my Monstera siltepecana, this one right here. Do the same thing. My little chair, my little spray bottle. Who knows, maybe down the road I'll develop this into something a little bit more attractive and sell it as the plant shower. I think it's pretty cool. It's working out really well so far. Again, there's no mess to any of my other like plants or on the floor or anything like that. Just spray it off, water it thoroughly. Oh no, whoops. I've been wanting to clean these leaves off for quite some time with all my houseplants just so they can properly photosynthesize. Here is my Rhaphidophora decursiva, or dragon's tail. I don't know what it's doing right there. It's kind of veering off to the side. Just switched up the Velcro there. I don't know what I was doing, growing off to the side there, but hopefully it corrects. Just gonna put that back. Here's my Epiprenum Baltic Blue, or Baltic Blue Pothos. Not looking the greatest right now. Looking a little bit rough. It's definitely getting some new growth. These leaves, I don't know if this is an entire cutting or if it's just the lower leaves that have fallen off, or they're looking yellow and they're about to fall off. Spray this down. I like the look of the newest leaves. Like, that looks gorgeous. But this was a rough one to start with. I wasn't able to find the big pot of the Baltic Blue Pothos from Costa Farms Training Tropicals, so I had to buy a few cuttings from someone who was selling them on a Facebook Marketplace. This is gorgeous. I love how they look. I did buy the Epiprenum pinnatum Yellow Flame from the same person that I bought this one from. I chopped it up into individual cuttings, so I did get 7 cuttings from that. It's currently in my prop box. I'm looking to put that on a plank as well. I just love the green and yellow variation on plant leaves. So this one, it's looking a little bit rough, but that's okay. I put I think 3 separate stems or cuttings in here, so I'm not too worried about these yellow leaves at the bottom here. It's some of the older leaves, so it's probably going to just fall off anyways. But some of the newer ones, like these, are what I'm hoping to achieve and get into those larger leaves. So the last one from this section of planks, I do have a few others over there that I'll get to, but this is my Syngonium chiapens. This one's been a really thirsty plant, and yeah, I've been trying to keep up on watering. I do have another chiapens just on the other side of this plant table. I do have it rooting in water. These are fairly fast growing Syngoniums, and their leaves, they're beautiful. They look more like a heartleaf philodendron than a typical Syngonium, like the arrowhead leaf shape that they're known for. These chiapenses, if you want to get into Syngoniums, I highly recommend it. They're super easy, but overall it's a really fast growing, absolutely gorgeous, just green leaf. There is another variety, the Frosted Heart, which I have right there. It's also on a plank. I did water that one yesterday. I am really happy with how this plant shower has turned out and how it's going to help me in the long term, saving me time and energy just running back and forth. I'm gonna do some more watering here in a minute, but there's a couple other little projects that I wanna get to first. This is my Alocasia Black Velvet. It was featured in one of my recent videos of plants that don't like me or plants that hate me. This one's been struggling with me for a little bit, and someone made a comment of, place this in leca and it will take off. So I have nothing to lose with this one. It's not looking the greatest. So I'm gonna take it out of the pot here, out of soil, and I'm going to try leca with this plant. Oh, there's a little sprout coming out the side here. I'm gonna have to see if I can, I don't think there's any way I can tuck that in. Maybe if I take some soil off the side, then I can slide it out a little bit easier that way. I'm really curious to see, okay, I know what the problem is. It has a ton of tubers, or little bulbs, which is pretty fantastic. This has root rot. Look at these mushy roots. Okay, it does have, okay, I'm gonna change that here. It did have, oh my goodness, there's like a bunch of these little bulbs. Where's my pruning shears? Just wanna show you, it looks like at some point it did have root rot, but it does have a bunch of nice bright white roots, which I'm happy to see. So I'm going to kind of untangle. Look at all these like little tubers, little bulbs. I'm going to cut all these off without cutting the roots. So it looks like I'm going to have 4 or 5 of these bulbs or tubers. This one, it's a little bit, it's not squishy. The bulb itself is firm. The root has rotted right off, so I'm going to cut that. And I'm going to cut this little bulb off as well. So looks like, oh, it dropped one. Looks like 5 bulbs so far. It's got some very fine white roots. Okay, so I think I got all the soil off. Nice little root system. I'm going to rinse this off upstairs, and then I will grab I'll clean out this container as well, and I will put it in leca. You know what I should do? Okay, now I'm kind of torn because I usually put struggling plants in perlite. I think it would do really well in perlite, but I think I'm going to make a quick change of plans, and I'm going to do this in perlite. I'm going to put it in perlite, see how it does. Obviously, it had some root rot issues. I think perlite will actually be a good alternative to soil for this black velvet. Okay, so I'm sorry to the person that I said I was going to try out leca. Leca has not, the plants that I've done or I've had with leca have not done well for me. So I'm going to clean this up. I'm going to put this in perlite and see what happens. The reason why some plants do so well in perlite is because of airflow. Roots need a lot of oxygen, or they appreciate when they're in a nice airy mixture. That's why we put a lot of the aeroids in a nice chunky aeroid mix, is because the roots need airflow. They need to be able to breathe. And that's what perlite does as well. There's no nutrients in perlite, so that's why we have to fertilize. Same with our houseplant soil. Any commercial soil mixture will have some fertilizer or nutrients already in it, but after you water your plant and when the plant uses that water and nutrients, obviously it strips it of that, so that's why we have to fertilize, is to keep up on the nutrients that's being provided to the plant. I'm just going to soak the perlite here thoroughly, just so that it drains out the bottom here, and then I will place it back, well, right on the table here, and see if that, if this helps the black velvet here. I'm hoping that it kind of rejuvenates it and it continues to grow. So I'm just gonna soak that till it comes out the bottom of the drain hole. The nice thing about perlite is that it's a very porous material. It holds on to moisture, but not enough that it's going to rot the plant itself. If you squish perlite, and if you can feel water on your hands, then you know it obviously doesn't need to be water. But if you squish it and it's just a dry dust, then I would definitely give it some water. I do have another alocasia upstairs, the Silver Dragon. That one is in perlite for probably about the last year and a half. It's doing wonderful. And I have this Anthurium regale, which is also in perlite. I saved this one from root rot. It was rooting in water. I transferred it to soil. The roots died or rotted off really fast. I put the stem or the chonk in perlite, and it grew this gorgeous leaf this year. So plants do really well in perlite, but again, you have to keep up on watering and fertilizer if it's in just strictly perlite. The last little project thing I have to do is pot up this water propagated monstera cutting. I bought this off Facebook Marketplace because it has these large leaves with the fenestrations and the perforations here. I don't have a monstera that has the holes in the leaves. This thing is absolutely gorgeous. It is getting a new leaf, but it got a little bit damaged in travel last night. I don't know if you can see it or not, but I want to pot this up into a nice chunky mixture so that I can let it continue to grow upright, getting these large massive leaves. So what I'm using is a combination of tropical plant soil as well as orchid bark for a nice chunky soil mixture. I'm just going to add a bunch into the, oh dear, I lost a big root. Not good. Hopefully this plant doesn't go into any sort of shock. I'm gonna have to water this quite thoroughly for the next little while so these water roots don't dry out. I am going to be putting a support stake in here as well. I almost forgot to put the wood plank in the pot. This is a cedar board from my kids' playhouse that we destroyed last year just because it was falling apart. So I did keep a number of these thin cedar planks. It does have a stain on it, but I'm okay with that. It just matches terracotta. Making sure I don't hit the roof. Holy smokes. And then I'm going to tuck this in the soil at the bottom, and then I'll add the cutting. I'm gonna put this right at the bottom here. And then I'll put the cutting right in front of it, and that way this cutting will be able to grow upwards or upright, and it can continue to get those large mature leaves, which I want. I'm just gonna tuck that in at the bottom, pack it down. Should be pretty well self-supported right now. And now I'm gonna grab that cutting, a little crooked. So I'm gonna place this, maybe a little more soil, like that. And then I will place all these roots in the soil. Place the cutting like that. I'm gonna hold it in place. And then I'm just going to dump all the soil around these roots, tucking them in, making sure they're all covered, and then I'm going to thoroughly water it. Can't even see me in the frame. I did use an insecticidal spray or soap on it. I'm also going to be adding some systemic into the soil here as well. There was no signs of any pests on the plant at all when I bought it, but in the chance that thrips, the little eggs are hiding out in the leaves, I don't want to take a chance with introducing it to the rest of my houseplant collection. Now I buy this bulk in a little bag like this. It's not illegal to use in Canada. This is not a banned substance. You just can't find it in any stores sold in Canada. There is, however, one person that I do purchase it from, and I just sprinkle it on the top. Just follow the directions with the packaging that you get and just evenly spread it around the plant, and then I'm going to add soil on top. When you water the plant, the water mixes with the systemic. It allows the roots to take up not only the water but the insecticide. When a sap-sucking insect bites into the leaf and takes up that sap, it's also taking in the insecticide as well, and ultimately it will kill them. I'm just going to add a little bit more soil to the back, and then top dress on top of the systemic. Just lightly like that. And just pack it down. Make sure, obviously, you use the appropriate safety gear, gloves, goggles, whatever it is you need to do when using insecticide, whether it's a spray or if it's the granular insecticide. Okay, so that should be good. Okay, I just finished spraying this down. I watered the soil. This one will remain in my bathroom. I do use this area as a quarantine for plants, so I'm just gonna keep an eye on it for a while. I do have a grow light in there as well, but I'm really excited for this one. This is just an absolutely beautiful leaf. I look tiny in comparison to it, but this is what I've been wanting, a monstera with these holes for a while, so I was able to pick this one up for pretty cheap, and hopefully it grows into a nice mature plant where I can get these fenestrations and these holes in the plant. So I'm gonna continue on with a little bit of watering, and I'm gonna set this aside in the quarantine bathroom. Because all my plants are downstairs underneath grow lights, artificial light, they're all still putting out new growth, and even my upstairs ones. I'm in a very sunny location in Canada, one of the sunniest in the entire country, so we get a lot of bright sunlight. So even though in the winter plants typically slow their growth, right now, like all my upstairs plants, they are all getting new leaves, or a lot of my plants are getting new leaves. I think this is the last one I'm gonna do. I have a bunch of other plants to water, but I'm not gonna bore you with me watering the next 60 plants. This is another alocasia. This is a giant elephant ear. It's in a smaller pot and it's getting a new leaf. These are pretty prone to spider mites. Look at this gorgeous leaf. So that's why I like to spray off, like I said, particularly the undersides of the leaves, and that's why this little plant shower thing works out so perfect, because I can now easily get to these plants and water them properly. Just a little bit of fertilizer in here as well. just like that. So I think that's gonna be pretty much it for this video. Let me know what you think of my invention, the plant shower. If you have any other comments or questions, please leave it down below in the comments section. If you want to watch another houseplant video, click this one right here. Otherwise, thanks again for watching. Take care. Bye.